Thank you for joining me here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. This episode is being sponsored by Breeze Eastern. Now, coming up next, this is part one of my conversation with the boys down in Riverside County, California. They have some recent rescues that they've done that are incredible, and we get the full detailed stories up next. So please welcome three guys from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ. Oh, yeah. We're going to do this again. You know why we're going to do it again? Because we already had these guys on. At one point, it was Mr. Mike Calhoun. He was episode number 44. We had a full conversation with him with what you guys do down in Riverside, California. Riverside, California with the Riverside County Sheriff's Office. Did I say that right?
Riverside County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah. That's what I meant. That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Or office.
Riverside County Sheriff's Department in Riverside, California.
Riverside County, California.
Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry. Riverside County, California. All right, right on. Well, gentlemen, thank you for coming in, and I'm pretty psyched because we get to talk about a whole bunch of rescues that you guys have done recently. And to make this even a little bit cooler is we sent out a questionnaire to a bunch of people online and throughout Instagram and said, hey, if you guys have a question about any of the rescues, Mike, you had the videos up and we were able to post a little clip of it, send the questions out. So we're going to hit some of these questions towards the end of the interview. But for right now, if you guys don't mind, just a quick introduction of who you are and what your position is at the aviation unit. Mike, let's start with you.
Hey, thanks, Quinny. Good to see you again. My name is Mike Calhoun. I'm a corporal in the Riverside Sheriff's Aviation Unit, one of the rescue pilots, and been with the department 22 years and been with the air unit 16. So currently a full-time rescue pilot in the department.
Right on. Manny.
Jason, thank you, brother, for having us back, man. It's always good talking to you.
Thanks, man.
My name's
Good seeing you too.
Manny Romero. Yeah, man. Manny Romero. I also am a pilot with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department Aviation Unit. I've been with the department. This March will be 20 years. I've been in our aviation unit about 15 of those years, or at least been part of it for the past 15 years. And I'm currently assigned to the rescue unit within our unit.
Nice.
Best job in the world.
Best job in the world. All right. I enjoy my job too. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Travis, what do you got, man?
Thanks for having us on, Quinn. I'm Travis Lloyd. I'm a deputy sheriff with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. I've been there going on 17 years, and I'm currently an EMT rescue specialist on our Rescue 9 helicopter and hoist operator.
Nice. Right on. Well, again, thank you guys for coming on. Man, drop that. Travis, your bar is set here now. He said you're a badass. I'm just saying.
I don't know about that, but
You are.
Way to be humble. Well done.
Own it.
Oh, I love it. All right, so guys, we're going to talk about a couple of rescues that you've had more recently. 4 of them specifically. Well, kind of 4.5 because there's we'll get into that in a second. But the first one is going to be a night rescue that you guys had. Super dark, like really dark coming in. That video, what you get to see is the hook coming down. And Travis, I believe you're on the ground for that one, right? Tending to the patient.
correct.
Cool. And then the next one we're going to tie, this is kind of like our 1.5. You guys were able to do a mountain bike rescue where the injured mountain biker, and then you went back and saved the bike. But that wasn't the first time you did it. So you do have another one that you've done that with. and we're going to talk about that. Then there's a cliff rescue, which Travis, I think you were on the hook for that one as well, in some stupid high elevation. And yeah, we're going to get into that. And then the last one that we're going to talk about is a loss of power while you're bringing the rescueman and the victim up to the aircraft, which is incredible. Right after that, we're going to get into everybody's questions that got posted online. Now, if there is a direct question to the rescues, I am going to plug those in towards the end of the story. But I'm pretty freaking excited about this. So
Yeah.
This will be fun.
I'll tell you what. Awesome. So let's start with the first one. Night rescue, the night hoist rescue. What did you guys get called out for? Mike, let's start with you.
Okay. Yeah, we received a call for a injured female hiker. She, I guess she fell, tripped, and she hit her head on a rock or the ground, and so she was feeling a little dizzy, a little woozy, and where she was on the trail, they were about 7,500 feet, and from the trailhead, they were still at least 30 minutes to get down to the parking lot trailhead. So she couldn't go any farther, and so they called 911, and we get launched out. We get the call. So it's going to be a night rescue, moonless night. So there's nothing helping us out there as far as ambient light. It's far enough away from the little town of Idlewild where the cultural lighting isn't even really going to be a factor. So yeah, that makes it a little bit more difficult when there's no moon on the NVGs. So yeah, we launch up and we find her location based on the GPS position that she gave, which has been a great thing that most rescues we get now, almost everybody's cell phone works where they are. And so dispatch walks them through a script to find out their location, how to get their GPS location off their phone, and then go through the series of questions. Are you hurt? Are you injured? What are you wearing? How many in your party? Do you need rescue? And then so that builds us a kind of a picture of where we're going. So we'll pull it up, usually Google Earth, and look at it, see what the elevation is, what the terrain is, where it is in relation to everything, so we can navigate there. Helps us build our ETA. And so yeah, we get overhead, and I was pilot, Manny was co-pilot, Travis was the downside rescuer. And so, yeah, we set up. It was a bit windy. It was about 20 knots of wind we were kind of dealing with, right up against it's a pretty steep mountain face. And this trail called the Devil Slide Trail, it just kind of zigzags and goes back and forth. And where she was at, it was about the 7,500 foot level. And so we had some terrain to contend with. And we had some trees that kind of had to put Travis down through some trees onto a narrow path on the side of a pretty steep mountain. And we had some pretty good boulders, rock formation off to a little bit to the right, to where I had to put the nose into the wind, and that kind of put the right side of the aircraft a little bit up against the terrain there. But yeah, I'll let Travis take it over and talk about what, his patient assessment and everything, that what he did with the victim. But yeah, it was a good one. It was, yeah.
Let me drop a quick question before we get into you, Travis. Are you guys flying under night vision goggles?
Yes. Yeah, we have white phosphor NVGs.
Oh, nice. Excellent. For those that don't know, when you fly under night vision goggles, you do need a little bit of ambient light to help pick up contrast of different aspects of the ground and trees and whatnot. When you have a moonless night, or it's pitch black, the goggles don't actually work as well as if you had just a little bit of ambient light in the background. So very interesting to kind of key point to note there as you guys are doing this stuff. So
yeah, we'll use a lot of our landing light. We have a steerable landing light that we'll use, and I'll kind of set that light picture from my sight picture as a pilot off to about the 1 o'clock position, and it'll help illuminate all the area that I need to stare at essentially, and so I can get my lateral and up and down reference points, relative movement. Because when there's no moon and no cultural lighting, and those NVGs they're really pixelating. They're really trying to gather whatever it can, and so if you don't help it out, it's gonna be more difficult on the pilot. It gets really tough if you don't use a landing light or a steerable. Yeah.
Totally. Manny, let me jump to you real quick. So you guys are on a pretty steep hill. You got Mike sitting right seat in the aircraft. You're sitting left seat. Do you have anything to look at, like out the left side, especially with a moonless night
No,
like that?
no, the terrain's going uphill on the right side, so it's Mike's side. Um, it's not the ideal side for us. We'd like to be looking straight into the mountain. I know Mike would like to look straight in the mountain, but these winds were coming up and over that mountain, and it's a pretty good 20-knot wind that's pushing us pretty hard. So uh, I think Mike did the right thing, put his nose into the wind, kept us stable as can be. But with those night vision goggles and with there being very little ambient light, we were 100% on goggles. At least I was 100% on goggles. When you look off goggles and you're looking for the terrain that was off to our right, which was our immediate concern, I'd say we were probably, the rocks were coming up and above us. So I would say that we were probably maybe 30 feet or so to start away from those rocks. So on goggles, you've got to be able to judge that distance. Off goggles, it's pitch black. You cannot see out of those windows at all. So, Mike's humble in his flying abilities, but it takes a lot of skill to position that aircraft where he had it in this scenario and in many other we'll talk about later. But it was definitely 100% on the goggles, and I couldn't see anything unless I was on goggles, or I was looking over Mike's shoulder and I could see where he had his light focused. But from my position, really, I'm only seeing the tips of the trees.
Dang, man. Wow. All right, Travis. So you're going down into like the black unknown, the depths. Are you wearing goggles on the way out?
No, just the pilots and the hoist operator are wearing goggles at that point.
All right, cool. So you got a little like flashlight, or your
Yeah,
like police mag light?
yeah, the
I'm
old
just
mag
kidding,
light.
dude.
No, I got a little light that I wear, and our rescue night has scene lighting and a hoist light that actually lights up the area pretty good
Oh, right on.
beneath
Okay.
us. Yeah.
So you have a pretty good visual
Um,
of the ground going in.
yeah, yeah, pretty good.
Sweet. All right.
That trail, we've all hiked that trail. That trail goes up a couple thousand feet, I think, in like 2.5 miles. So it's
Wow.
pretty steep,
Yeah.
and it's pretty tree covered. Yeah.
All right. So now, when you get down to the trail, what was you get to the lady? Did you know who it was right as soon as you got down to the ground, or?
No, I had to be set down probably 50 yards from where they were at because they were kind of under some tree line, and most of that trail is covered. And so she was with three other people. She was with her adult son. I think he was about 19, and then two other people. And so I was able to hike to them nearby, contacted her. She said, I think she mentioned she had slipped, fallen, hit her head on a log about a mile maybe up the trail. Felt fine. She didn't have a lot of head trauma. But then after walking down about a mile, she started getting nauseous and dizzy. So she may have had a concussion.
Dang, man. All right. So now, was she under a canopy when you got to her, and you had to continue to walk, or could you hoist her out in the area that you were at?
No, we had to walk her a little bit, just a little ways, maybe 25, 30 yards, nothing crazy,
Right on.
to a more clear opening.
Gotcha. Now, out of curiosity, with your assessment, because you said you're an EMT basic,
Yeah,
intermediate?
just a basic EMT.
Right on, awesome. Not just a basic EMT, Travis. You're
Mm-hmm.
a basic EMT, okay? Like, represent, dude. Not just. Dude, I
Yeah.
know how that's. I mean, I remember being that. Like, come on, man. Anyway, sorry, I digress. When you get down there, because I get it, it's pitch black. Or you're using your flashlight to try to do a quick assessment. You get the helicopter back off. I mean, it's dark down there. So what'd you end up doing for that?
Um, she didn't have any blood or anything, no major trauma to her head. I just asked her some questions, like, what day it is, the president is, and she was completely coherent and
Oh, cool.
fine. She was just getting nauseous and dizzy. So
Nah, right on.
she was
All
okay
right.
for the most part.
Very cool. Very cool. Did you ask her not to throw up in the helicopter?
We have little barf bags, but yeah, that's best when they don't do that.
I was
Kind of
wondering if you asked her. I don't know.
before Travis
Like
got into
No, I
politely.
didn't. I didn't ask her. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just kidding, Travis. I'm just kidding, dude. I know you're not gonna do that. Just throw that out there. All right, dude. So you what?
I
You
might.
all right. So what? How are you extracting her? What are you using?
We used a CMC hot seat, basic hot seat. What we usually use
Cool.
if it's not a Stokes.
Nice. Very nice. So once you package her up, you're ready to go. Now, one of the cool things about your helicopter specifically is you have this big old bumper that you click a couple buttons and it lights up. So as that, right after you call ready for pickup, you can see that thing coming a mile away.
Yeah, we got the halo light, which is really helpful and helps us a lot. Helps the hoist operator a lot see that thing because at night it's hard to see that cable, and it's hard to see the bumper too because it's not reflective or anything. So that halo works out great.
Yeah, nice, which is beautiful. So no issues. I mean, right after the hook gets to you, you grab it, connect the two of you, and you're out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, I had put her on the two up. It's a device we use so we could both go up at the same time, and it also makes them feel more comfortable because usually they're kind of scared. But when I tell them, "Hey, we're going to go up together," it calms them down a lot. And so I connected her to the two up, and I was just waiting for the hook. And with the wind and all that, it took a little bit, some adjustments, but they got the hook right to me, and then we went up together.
Sweet, sweet. And Mike, any issues with the pickup?
No, just power was good, and yeah, just we had a little bit of a swing start, on the flyaway, but got it under control. And yeah, we fly her like with everyone else. We'll have a pre-designated landing zone that we'll coordinate with the ground deputies. And so in that area, it's almost always our mountain sheriff station. We have a landing zone there, helipad, and we'll coordinate with medical personnel to meet us there. When we're en route, we get that stuff already started so that we're not having to wait. So we say, hey, we're en route to this call. Let's stage medical at our Hemet Mountain Station, our landing zone, and that way they're already on the move and getting there. So yeah, we just flew her there and offloaded her, escorted her over to the paramedics, and she was on her way.
Dude, that's awesome. When you listen to you guys talk about this kind of so just banana, it literally sounds like just another training day. Like no issues, no problems, middle of night, pitch black, can't see a damn thing, and you guys are like, yeah, that was easy. Yeah.
I was going to say the
Okay.
same thing. These two guys make it sound like it was just a simple rescue, and it sounds like it's a simple rescue. But yeah, Mikey's dealing with the winds. The hoist operator, Doyle, he's out there and he's trying to guide Mikey where to go. He's using his goggles to try to find the best spot to squeeze that hook in between the trees or an open area. Travis has been preparing since the moment we left on going through the sequences of what ifs and what equipment he needs. So when we're on scene, he's already got everything he needs. There's no hesitation. Everyone knows their job and they do it well. So, the two guys are making it seem like it's just a casual rescue, which, because of the training, sometimes we may feel like it's just another rescue. But when you really break it down and you see all the work that those guys put into this, it was technical. The terrain, once we got into position where Travis needed to be hoisted into, we're probably 15 feet or so off the rocks. And that was a constant concern, is looking over the shoulder, making sure that the tail was clear, that the rocks are still no factor, that Mike's maintaining a steady hover, that the hoist operator, when he's positioning Mike, is also aware that, the rocks that are behind him, he's clear of those. So it's a whole crew resource management. We're all working together to make this as safe as possible and as smooth as possible. And, again, they make it seem easy, but these two guys, Mike D as a hoist operator, they're good at what they do. All our guys are good at what they do. So
are you, Manny.
Thank you, brother.
All team.
I'm
Freaking
proud
awesome,
of all
man.
these guys.
You know, and I
Dude,
will say
that's
that
great.
we are extremely blessed and fortunate that we don't have per se like a set training budget. We do have a training budget, but that's mostly for like for the 145 pilots to go back to Airbus once a year and we do a 5-day recurrency with the instrument proficiency check at the end, because we are also an IFR program, and then we also do emergency procedures in our A stars. But as far as like the rescue stuff, we go out and we can fly as much as we want, and we train several times a week.
Beautiful.
And we'll do different scenarios. Let's just practice, and we do get real business. We're pretty busy, so you know we have a lot of proficiency. We get to do a lot of flying as much as we want, pretty much. So it's by far it's definitely not easy or routine. That night, it's those night moonless ones. Those are tough, and this one too was unique because the ideal situation, as you know, Quinny, is to put the hoist operator on the side of the terrain, but this way if we were to do that, that would have put us into 180 degrees tail into the wind. So we had to go basically with pilot's side against the terrain. So the hoist operator is looking off into the abyss, into the down terrain, and so that was really helpful for Manny. He kept looking hard to his right through the window and kind of backing me up for that area that I couldn't see behind me. So he was looking through that window and calling the terrain, and as a hoist operator, he can't see it at all. So that was a different, unique one, and we brief it, we talk about it. Everybody's comfortable with it. Okay, this is what we're gonna have to do, man, because it's the 145 H145. It has this really, really big finistron that grabs the wind, and it'll tell you if you're not nosing to the wind very, very quickly. So it likes to be into the wind. So it was just a good, very unique, and it was very difficult hoist that night. Yeah.
Dude, awesome. Well done, you guys. Well done. No, rescue. Life saved. That's what I'm saying anyway. I like it. All right, so let me go on to another one. So this is kind of the twofer. You guys have video of like a mountain bike rescue. Now, there's actually 2 videos with 2 different mountain bikes, but what I find interesting is the mountain bike aspect of it afterwards. So, but I got to hear the first part of it. So let's go with the one that had the green mountain bike. That one I remember specifically because that dude was had been injured on the trail on the mountain bike, and then actually, if I remember correctly, Travis, you were the hoist operator on that one.
Correct.
Okay, so Manny or Mike, whoever wants to start this out, what's the call coming in for that?
Well, I'll take it. This one, we got a call of an injured mountain biker common out in the Palm Desert area. There's some trails out there that people are out riding. So we got the call, and we're already ready to go. We have the helicopter staged in the event that we get any type of rescue. We're ready to roll. Helicopter's been pre-flit. So as soon as we get the call, we print out the location, the lat long. Like Mike said earlier, when these calls come out, dispatch is really good about obtaining all the important information, description, injuries, and specifically location. So with our cool technology in the helicopter, punch in the lat long as we're flying, and it takes us pretty much right to where the mountain biker was down. So while he's riding down this terrain, this long trail, he's got his GoPro on and he's recording his run. And it's obvious after looking at this guy's video that he's an extreme mountain biker. He's hauling ass down that mountain, and you could just see his arms pumping. He's pumping that bike. He's just scooting along down the terrain. And at some point in the video, you hear him say some few choice words. He goes head over feet, scorpions himself, and he's down. He looks and sounds from the video that he was pretty messed up. So, as we're flying out there, all the medics, they do what they do best. They're preparing for the scenarios, the possible injuries. I think we had another guy, Jason Beeman, out that day that came out. So we actually had 2 medics that were able to go down. So we get over, we see our down mountain biker. As pilots and air crews, We have a systematic way of handling every rescue. We do our high recon, looking at our best approach and kind of going through acronyms in our heads as pilots. So we do our high recon, get a little bit lower, start doing our low recon. All the time, all the meanwhile, we're discussing it amongst each other, how we're going to approach this. And then we come into our final phase of flight, which is the rest stop. I think the rest stop is something that SR3 has probably taught all our guys, and it's
Nice.
come in as a valuable tool for us, because it kind of slows everything down. It gives us an opportunity. Sometimes the adrenaline can be going. You're excited about a rescue, but it's one of those pause moments. And as soon as you get into that rest stop, everything stops. We have silence in the cockpit. And now the crew chief, the hoist operator, he goes over his checklist and verifies everything's good, that the helicopter is good, that we have emergency escape routes. We're going through whatever emergency procedures we think may occur. So it slows us down, gives us a good opportunity to make sure that we're approaching this in the safest manner, and that the risk is worth the reward. And in this case, everything was safe. It was daylight. It wasn't extremely hot, so the terrain for us wasn't too wild. I was flying that one. Mike was co-pilot. We come into the rest stop. Once that's all said and done, then Travis is the voice for us, and he starts directing us in. So we fly into our final hoist position, where Travis feels it's going to be best to insert. And at that point now, I'm in auto hover. You still maintain controls in this helicopter, H-145. Auto hover works amazing. It's very steady, but you still have to override the controls to make sure that you're staying in a steady position. So although, the helicopter does have that ability, you're still flying the aircraft. You're still maintaining that position in space. Now my eyes are locked onto a target that I'm using as a hover reference. And at this point now, Travis is my eyes. So I'll hand it off to Travis, because at that point, all I see is what I'm staring at down below, and I'm listening to what's going on outside.
Right on. All right, Travis. So pick us up, man. You're right over the top of the scene. You're putting your boy in, medical gear, hoisting equipment. What? And the dude's injured. He's just all busted up on the ground. Are we doing a litter extraction? Are we doing a hot seat? What are we doing?
We ended up doing a hot seat with that. His back and legs were pretty good. He just had a lot of road rash. He had an open fracture on his forearm, a lot of road rash. He had we think his jaw was broken. He couldn't talk real well, and I think he was actually missing some teeth too.
Oh man!
So I put our first rescue specialist, Edwards, offset a little bit. There's a wider portion of the trail, and that way we're not putting too much downwash right on the victim while he's laying there. And we inserted Edwards. Edwards made his way to the patient, assessed him, and we decided to put our second rescue specialist down, Jason Beeman, to assist with wrapping this guy up and securing his arm. And once they were both inserted, we decided to start doing some orbits. That way we're not just right there hovering over them. That way they can talk to each other and hear each other. So we orbited for a couple minutes while they got him bandaged up. Got back into position. We picked up Jason Beeman first, got him on board, and then I sent the hook down to Edwards and the patient, and had to get it right on them because we didn't want to move him around really. And they came up together, two up together, and we pulled them in. All right,
so now, wait a minute. You've got both rescuemen and the victim in the inside of the aircraft. You've got the bike still down. Where does the bike come into play?
We had paramedics staged nearby off of Highway 111, so we went and got the patient offloaded to paramedics so he could get transported to the hospital. And these guys obviously bright, expensive, like $10,000 specialized mountain bikes. So we were debating we can come back. Yeah, we could come back the next day and get the bike. We could get it now. So we were like, hey, it's still daylight. Let's just go grab it real quick. So we went back, set up. I sent someone down. I don't remember who it was, either Beeman or Edwards. He wrapped up the bike real quick, brought it up, and we've pulled bikes into the helicopter a bunch of times. It's kind of a pain, and we decided, since that landing zone was so close, it was only a couple miles away, we just kept it on the hook and just put it right there next to me on the skids, and we just kind of cruised over and kept it outside the helicopter.
Dude, that's awesome.
We were able to drop it off with a friend of the victim who met us down there.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's sick. Now, out of curiosity, did the guy ask you guys to go get it? And you know what? I should even throw this out there, because this was one of the questions that got asked by our audience here, and it was by @JMoore, MORRR, and he asked, "Why did you guys go back for the bike?" So, did the victim ask you to go get it, or was that just like, oh, let's just go pick up the bike and bring it back for him?
I think we just went and got it. I don't think we've ever left a bike. We've done quite a few bicyclists down, and we've always got their bike, to be honest with you. They're expensive bikes. I mean, we don't want it to get stolen. Not that
Dude, that is
Jason,
awesome.
a lot of these rescues, we put ourselves in the victim's shoes. We think, like, if this was my family member, if I was the one down there, what would I want done? And I know, like Travis said, these bikes are outrageously expensive. So, there's a risk versus reward. The terrain was good to go. We have a twin engine helicopter. We take safety very seriously. And we weigh the pros and cons. And in this one, it was kind of a no-brainer. It was a very safe technique that we used, and it saved this guy a lot of money. And we're here to serve the public. That's our job. We try to help out. I know if I was riding that bike and I was down, I would love someone to give me back my $10,000 mountain bike. So
yeah, right.
I think it worked out pretty good.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yep.
And you think about it, I know we were talking a little bit about training earlier, but at that point you could almost make it a training scenario for yourself to go down. You're just getting some dude's bike. But now you're literally keeping it on the outside of the aircraft and just short hauling it. That's it. Just keeping a hand on it and cruising it with the bike on the outside of the aircraft.
Yeah.
Right.
That's freaking awesome. Dude, I'm
was a
going
quick
if I ever go riding, I'm going around there. Oh, yeah, just right to the landing zone?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. It was pretty quick to the landing zone, not too far. Travis could have took the time to wrestle that thing inside, but I don't remember if we put it on the reel. I'm sure we did, if he was hanging out right next to us. But it was a quick, easy off-site landing, and friends and family appreciate that type of stuff. And you're right, we use this as a training opportunity. Never miss an opportunity to train. Well, that's kind of what this was. All right, we just did a human. Now let's go do some more training and get as many reps as we can.
Dude, that is awesome. Well done, you guys. Well done. I like the idea of like you said, you're there to serve the public and help out. And it's not only people, it's also their possessions. If you can get it and save it, man,
Absolutely.
Good on you.
And a little bit more real quick is like being the EMT. These guys are using some equipment that I've never seen before. Travis can elaborate probably on some of it, but our medics are amazing at what they do. They know what equipment they need for each scenario. And they had, I don't know, Travis, what do you call that blow up splint thing? I think you guys were using that. They were using.
I'm glad
you
said splint thing. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
It's an air splint.
Air splint.
Air splint. Okay, good.
Pretty cool.
Man, I wasn't sure where you were going with it, dude. I'm throwing that out there, dude.
I wasn't sure where I was going with it, but these medics are good at what they do. Although, the saying was just an EMT, but EMTs are amazing at what they do, and they're always training. They're always doing like online recurrency testing. They've got the dummies out there where Mike said earlier, we do scenarios, and Mike's got really cool ideas on different scenarios that he throws at them. And the medics have to provide that medical aid for whatever the scenario is. So again, this is one of those ones that the terrain wasn't anything extreme. I'm sure there's a million other rescues that surpass this, but it's the whole fact that these guys are all working together, that we all work together and constantly strive to be the best at what we do. And the EMTs, are down there and they're giving this guy the best care that this guy could have gotten. So again, just another one of those proud moments. You see your guys working and we joke and smoke, but when it's time to be serious, then it's business, and you see it in the work that they do every day. And a lot of these videos that you posted show just a small piece of what it is that all of us do.
Yeah. Oh, it's super cool, man. Super cool.
Indeed.
Yeah. I love the fact that you guys went back to get the bike. I really do. I mean, it's one of those things when you start talking to different people, and even newspapers and stuff, like it'll be like, oh, it saved 4 people from car crash. They also saved the dog, and the dog is the biggest part of the headline. And this is like, you saved the dude from a bike crash, but you saved the bike. Oh my gosh. Dude, man. I love it. I love it.
We could save hundreds of people a year, but the moment we save an animal, that's the story.
Yeah.
We
totally
rescued horses in the past. We trained for long lining horses and large animals out of precarious situations, and that, man, makes like international news.
Oh my gosh. You know what? You might have to touch on that. What you saved a horse by long lining a horse? I love Travis.
Done it several times.
Several times.
Yeah,
what?
We had it was the last one was it was the day after Thanksgiving 2021. And this lady took her horse down to this canyon in the Temecula area of our county, and horse got spooked and jumped over this rock formation into this little like meadow, this probably 12 by 12 little meadow thing. It was weird, but the horse couldn't get back out. So it was just not injured, just stuck in place. So that is a lot of people and a lot of moving parts involved to long line a horse out. We have a Riverside City Fire Department. They have a horse animal rescue team, the HEART team. And they have this large device called the Anderson sling. And this thing is extremely elaborate. So many fail points on it. There's so many buckles. And they come out once a year with us. We're the aircraft that will utilize them. But it's training for them too, because they have this like 800-pound rubber horse that they bring out on this cart, like a Trojan horse thing, wheeling it in. And so they set it up, and they first put it on the device on the horse for all of maybe some new guys, and that's good practice for them. And then they'll take it off the cart and lay it down as if it would be in real life. And so they got to manipulate the horse and everything, get the straps on, and then at the end, when they're all good and confident, then we take it outside and we do it live with the helicopter. It's a lot. You have veterinarians involved, because what they'll do is they'll stabilize the horse first. They'll establish an IV, and they'll push a mild sedative just to calm the horse as they're doing all this preparatory work, and so that the horse doesn't freak out, buck, and become a problem. What they'll do is right before we're clear to lift, when we have tension on the line, then we'll say, okay, tensioning. Okay, you're clear to drug. So at that point, one of the veterinarians has a syringe ready and then really knocks the horse out and gives them enough to keep them out for about 5 minutes. And so once the horse is completely unconscious, then we start the lift and then transport the animal over to the landing zone. And that's the hard part, man, is setting that thing down nice and easy and gentle, and because there's a bunch of cameras. So then we lay the horse down and then detach from the animal, and then the veterinarian that's at the LZ will take over the care monitor the horse as it comes back into consciousness and so forth. But yeah, it's a lot going on, and it makes huge news.
Oh my God, dude. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
All right. I know we just diverted off like what we were going to talk about, but that was well worth it. I would love to see that operation. Do you really? Oh my gosh. Yes, please.
I'll put it on my YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh. God, what you guys do down there is insane to me. It's crazy. Oh,
Pretty fun.
wow. Yeah. Holy jeez. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Breeze Eastern. For over 80 years, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured battle-proven aerial rescue hoists, winches, and cargo hooks. Each product is carefully crafted to support demanding mission scenarios, ensuring the job gets done safely and efficiently. Visit them today at www.breeze-eastern.com.
All right. Well, let me skip to the next one. All right. Travis, this is you. This is all about a super big cliff rescue, and I'm gonna come back because Mike, I believe you were flying right seat.
Yes.
In this one, okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna, Mike. I know we're gonna talk about your flying because it was legit, but Travis, I gotta put this out there. So you're at like an altitude. Off the top of my head, you're like 2,000 feet up on this freaking rock face. Am I exaggerating with that, or is that pretty accurate?
I don't know the altitude. Calhoun might. We estimated that rock face. I was up maybe 800.
Yeah, I think it was about 800 feet up. It was about 2 pitches up, but it was at like 7,500 MSL was where.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, it was.
So the rock itself.
They were far up.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, so 800 feet from the ground to where the dude got hurt, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you guys are flying at 7,500 AGL, pulling power up there.
Yeah, that's correct.
Dude,
yep.
Holy cow! All right, what is the call, and how did you guys even manage to do this? Because and then Travis, I want to get into you because the pickoff, you ended up using the hot seat, the CMC hot seat, and I'd like to talk about that too. But Mike, let me bring it to you for real quick. What? Not really. Oh yeah, you have to, dude. You gotta send that to me. That's
so
where you guys are coming into.
Yeah, that's it's called Lily Rock, and it's right above Idlewild, and it's a pretty popular climbing rock. The peak of it is called Tockwitz Peak. So it was daytime, and we get the call of an injured climber. They have a GPS position, which is great. So we brief it up, and we're looking at it, and we're like, okay, yeah, this is actually a climber on Lily Rock. So that changes a lot of things on our mission planning and briefing of how we're going to do this. So the crew component that day was I was PIC on that one. Manny was co-pilot. Mike Doyle was the hoist operator, and Travis was the go down guy. He was on the hook. So and then we had I think Jason Beeman. He was working overtime filling in for Edwards that day. So yeah, same mission planning briefing. We get there. Initially, where they were, it was so vertical that we didn't think we were able to get close enough in to them because of the verticalness. So we just said, hey, why don't we climb an elevation? Maybe we have to make it a 200-foot hoist of cable, and because it was a little bit more angled, if we went a little bit higher. So let's just creep in and see if we can do it. Because really, the last time that the ground rescue teams had to do this kind of rescue, it took about 14 hours to do a top-down rope technical rescue. And Manny was on that last one, and he flew, I think, at least 20 different sorties to get rescuers up on that peak of where these climbers were. And then they set up a technical rope to go down. And that took them well into 3-4 in the morning. So, they're doing it at night. And so kind of long story short, we did all of this in about 12 minutes of hovering. So really
wait a minute, the whole rescue is done in 12 minutes? Are you serious?
About 12 minutes of hovering. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we get there and
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
we climb an elevation, maybe another 100 feet, and we move in. And this is where the co-pilot, Manny was doing a fantastic job of. He's right there. It'll be on the left-hand side. So I'm looking, Manny's looking, hoist operator's looking. Uh, the RS2 is looking out the door too. So we're all looking at this rock, just making sure that we're going to be clear. So once we get into position, I hear Travis says, "Hey man, I think we can do this, man. We're pretty, plumb center over the victims. We had I'd say about 8 to 10 feet of rotor clearance from the rock. So everyone, okay, we're good. All right, we can do this. Let's deploy a rescuer." The winds were cooperating. It wasn't. We were kind of tucked into a pocket. 50 feet to 100 feet out to my right, I would have caught some of the wind coming out of the south there, but everything felt stable. I felt comfortable. I felt like I was having a good day, and everyone agreed. So let's deploy the rescuer. And so it's good because Manny is then telling. He's like watching, and what our co-pilot role does is he's kind of like an overall kind of safety referee as well. He's watching the terrain as well. He's listening for things that need to be said, and he's catching things that hadn't been said, and prompting us to remember a certain procedure or something we didn't think about. So he does have a very vital role in our program, not just kind of seat meat sitting there to fulfill like we especially do it for IFR. We have a dual pilot for IFR operations. So so get there, and Manny's talking me on, and it was good because he's calming me down and just telling me, hey, you're doing great. This is good. We're pretty stable. We're doing great, and just kind of checking everything. So it was awesome having him do that. It was really important because there was a huge pucker factor in this one, man. It was we don't do those kind every day. That was different. So I'll take it to Travis, and Travis can go from there.
So one quick question, Mike. How much hoist cable was out? Do you know?
There was about 140 to 150, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
We have
All
two
right, so
295 usable.
So let's go 150 feet just for round numbers. I like that. I'm good with that. Are you okay with that, Travis? 150 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably about
So
right.
now, Travis. Yeah. All right. So now, Travis, you get on the hoist deck, and the reason I'm bringing that number up is because you're connected to the hoist deck at the aircraft, and you come outside the door, and I can picture this all in my head right now. Like you're outside the aircraft, you're standing on the skid, connected to the hoist deck. Hoist boom is out. Hoist operator's on there, ready to go. Gives you the thumbs up. You give him the thumbs up. Yep, you're ready to rock. Disconnect the reel. Your safety goes out, and then you start going out, right? So you're just hoisted just below the aircraft. And then all of a sudden you look down, and you are 950 feet from the ground. Like, at what point in your mind did you look down and be like, shit, this is high? That's what I really want to know. That's the...
Yep.
I don't. When I was going on the helicopter, I don't think I looked down, to be
That's
honest
awesome.
with you. I remember looking down at one point when I was on the rock with the victims and thinking, wow, because at the bottom there's just a bunch of like boulders, just a bunch of loose boulders and rocks that have fallen off that rock like over the years. So that's, you look down, a bunch of just loose boulders and pine trees that look tiny from where
Oh
we
my
were
god, dude! I love this. I love this so much. So you're slowly creeping, getting closer and closer. You went from 950 to 900 to 850 to about 800 feet off the main ground. There's so long fall to the end. At what point did you end up making contact to the rock? Was it at the very bottom, or like when you were eye level with the victim, or were you kind of like traversing down?
making contact with the rock.
Yeah.
I was slightly below them. It was hard for the hoist operator to get me over there because we were so close to the rocks. And so he put me down. I was kind of vertical with him. And from above view, it's hard to see how steep some of the rocks are that are actually attached to this cliff. And I was actually making contact with this little chute that went below them. And I remember Doyle asking me, hey, because I was on that rock, can you climb up that rock? Because from his view, you can't tell how sheer it is. And I had to tell him, no, I can't climb up this rock. It's like sheer cliff face. You're going to have to put me right next to him. So that's what's nice actually about the Axness. I have direct communication with the crew and the pilots. And I told him, no, I'm about 15 feet below them. You're going to have to put me right on them. And he pulled me up. Yeah. So he was able to pull me up to them and slowly keep creeping. And finally I got within about an arm's reach of the first victim. And they'll be able to grab forearm to forearm and kind of pull me into him. And there was just enough little edge for me to stand right in front of him, basically. They were in like this crack. There was a male who broke his ankle, and then a female companion that he was rock climbing with, and she had kind of wedged her way into this big crack, and she was able to kind of sit, and he was able to sit on this tiny little ledge, and they were anchored in with cams, but they were basically sitting on the crack that they were anchored into, so the anchor was below them. They weren't suspended. They were able to sit there and anchor in with cams. So I made contact with him. I was able to stand there. He was anchored in. I started working the hot seat, got the hot seat out, got him connected into the hot seat, got him connected to the two-up. Once he was connected to me, he said, am I safe? Am I safe? And I said, yes, you're connected to me. We're connected to the hook. He unhooked his anchor, and then we were able to pull us up.
Wow, man! Wow. Now I gotta emphasize this because in the video, like you're like 1 foot on this ledge that only really fits your foot, and that dude is sitting on something that's like it's a tiny little seat, and it's I gotta emphasize 800 foot to the bottom. Like it's not like this is just up a little ways. No, you're way up there. And you're standing on a cliff and you have this little nook that you're standing on. I'm like, oh my God, dude. So freaking awesome. Question though, why the hot seat? Why not maybe like the Lazard or another option? And I'm asking for 2 reasons. One, he was in a rock climbing harness, and I get that totally would have been okay. And then I also understand like having the hot seat, you have him wrapped up. So why the hot seat? Why did you guys decide to use that?
Well, I'm really comfortable with our hot seat. I know it's in good condition. It was weird because we can't really get super good eyes on the situation. We weren't sure how they were anchored in. One thing about the Lazard that was cool is every training we did with the Lazard, everybody was suspended and hanging off an anchor. And then we were able to connect onto their anchor and suspend with them. These people were sitting on a ledge on cams that were underneath them. So you could have done a Lazard. I was thinking, how do you do? I don't know if I would have done a Lazard with that, but now going through my head, I could have connected the Lazard into their cams and done the same thing, but I would have had to rely on their cams to anchor me, and I would have been kind of pulling up on the cams slightly because they were below them. And I'm not a rock climber. I wouldn't hang off a cam off a mountain, to be honest with you. So I felt comfortable with a hot seat, and I could have connected the two-up directly to his rock climbing harness, I guess. But then this guy took a fall. I don't know if his harness is damaged.
Absolutely.
And I'm not familiar with his
Dude,
equipment.
I
So
love it.
it was most
I love
comfortable
it.
for me just to put him in our equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
man. You know what? Here's the way I'm gonna say. This is me, right? I was not on scene. I was not there. I didn't go through the brief. It was not me. It was you guys. What you guys
Yeah.
briefed and what you did
Yep.
worked. It worked well. Period.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody else says. You're on scene. You make the
Yes.
call. Period. Did it work? Yes. Ricky Travis, well done, dude. Props. So yeah. I am throwing that out there. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Winnie. Yeah, if I can add to, in regarding this rescue as well, there was a question of, and this kind of comes up whenever we do hoist rescues, is some people get really frustrated as to, and I get maybe the sentiment is they care about us as public safety, but a lot of times it's, why did these people put themselves in these situations that have to risk rescuers' lives to come and save them? And I saw that question on my videos. I'm sure you'll play the video of this rescue, but someone asked that. They could have self-rescued. It was only 2 pitches up. They could have self-rescued. Well, he had a broken ankle, and the longer that you have a broken ankle in a confined shoe, you can have, I guess, compartmentalized syndrome, where he could have kind of tourniqueted his own foot, I guess, if it swells in the shoe, I guess. I'm not a doctor. Travis is. He could probably talk to that better. But, but a lot of people.
He'll be the first to tell you he's not. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I got you, Travis.
Yeah. But we don't. That's our job. Folks love to go out into the wilderness. They love to go hike. They love to go rock climbing, and accidents happen. They didn't plan on slipping and falling and breaking an ankle and having to get rescued. And I guess. Maybe in the rock climber community, it is kind of taboo if you ever have to get hoist rescued. I was on a rescue once as a hoist operator a long time ago, and the guy was actually refusing rescue. The downsider was getting waved off, and he was on the side of the north face in ice, separated from his pack and his climbing gear, and he's waving us off. And we're like, no, you're done. You're coming. And so afterward, he's like, yeah, thank you, man. That was the right call. He just didn't want that stigma of being rescued. Like, you know what I mean? Because then it follows you in that community. But you've got to do the right thing. When you tap out, you got to be just realistic enough to say, hey, I'm in a bad spot. So when those things happen, we don't look at it like, damn it, why are these people putting us in this situation? They should have had better planning or whatever, but that's not always the case. Nobody ever plans and wants to fall and get injured 800 feet up on the side of a rock. So, just know that if that ever happens to you. And another thing too, that I think we need better education in the public with is a lot, like our agency in particular, we don't charge people for rescue. You're not going to get a bill. So don't be afraid if you're lost, if you're injured, man, I don't want to pay that bill. We're not like the air ambulance services where you will get a bill or insurance will. This is a publicly funded, taxpayer-funded service that the people that are in Riverside County that find themselves in some kind of precarious situation get to enjoy. And that's what your tax-paying dollars are for. So anyone listening to this, if you're ever in our county at least, and I think it's that way around at least the country, that you're not going to get charged. So don't be fearful of that in your decision making as to whether or not you need a call for rescue. Right. That's my $150 on it anyway. So
I like it. I'm going to kind of throw one more thing, because you mentioned it in the beginning before we got into that. And we haven't even gotten to the second person, by the way, because you've taken one victim up, the dude with the broken foot. There's still a lady hanging on the side of a cliff. I want to remind you that we're not done with this rescue yet, okay? But you did mention that the last time something like this happened at this location, it took 14 hours to get guys down. And you said you had the whole thing done in like 12 minutes. Like, come on. Like, putting rescues at risk? 14 hours of hanging. I mean, I get it. I climb. I rappel. I enjoy being on it. But 14 hours is a long time to be rappelling people down or belaying people down. Rope anchors from one to the other. It's just a long time. 12
At
minutes
nighttime.
is not a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
holy cow.
Yeah.
Nice job, guys. Okay, wait. I don't want to go too far. Ready? So you get the dude with the ankle up to the aircraft. Now you've got to do the whole thing again. It was, how did it work out a second time? Like, same thing? Like, girl got to the same spot and just hooked you up, or what, Travis?
Yeah, so while we were putting him in the helicopter, I stayed on the 2-up. They started sending me back down. And she kind of made her way out of her little crevice she was in to where he was. And she anchored into where he was in. So, same thing. Doyle got me down there. I was able, after a little bit swinging me around, I was able to get within a forearm's reach of her. She reached out, grabbed me, pulled me in, and we pretty much did the same thing, except she had all their equipment. She had like a couple 100 feet of rope on her back. Luckily, those CMC hot seats are pretty big, and I'm able to put that thing over all that stuff anyways. And put the hot seat on her, made sure she was connected, got her all hooked up. Once she was hooked up to me, I said, all right, you're hooked up to me. We're good. You can disconnect. She pulled all her little cams out, got them all secured on her belt. And same thing, we were on our way.
Oh my gosh. She cleaned up all the rock and all the gear. That is freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. She was waiting for the bus, man. She was at the bus stop, ready to go, all packed up, and like, I'm done. I'm out of here. Let's go. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Guys, that's freaking awesome. Well done. Well done. And I am going to post a video here. We'll get to see a little bit of it here, but Mike, you have it on your YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to go see like the full thing, it's like a 22-minute video off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
it's legit. And Travis, it was awesome to watch you on the side of the rock. And my favorite is really when you're looking around, you're seeing him, you're kind of doing your thing, and at one point you like look down, and you just see how far it is all the way down. I was like, oh my god, dude, that's freaking sick.
Yeah.
So, anyway, well done, gentlemen. Well done.
Travis. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go to one more. This one in particular is a rescue you guys had where like everything was kind of going all good, and then it wasn't good. So, Manny, I believe you were flying on this one in particular, and if I remember correctly, Travis, you were hoisting on this one, so you're the hoist operator on this one, right?
Correct.
And then Mike, you were sitting left seat as backup or as SIC. Nice. All right. So Manny, let me bring it to you. What's the call? What are you going out to?
So we've got, I think they were injured hikers up near the top of Idlewild Tram. There's a valley up there, and there was an injured hiker. Kind of a typical call we get up in that area. Elevation's probably 8,500, maybe 8,500 feet, 9,000 feet or so.
It was 95, Manny. Yeah,
95.
That's right, just below the peak.
Yeah.
So 9,500 feet. Kind of an area that we're very familiar with. So we do like we always do. We get the call. We start heading out that way. We're constantly discussing what type of equipment we want to use, possible scenarios, and we get overhead, and I do my same high recon, low recon technique. High recon, the winds are screaming. I don't recall. I want to say they were plus 30 knots, but they were coming up and over a ridge line. So the high recon was a bit sketchy because we were getting thrown around a lot. So instead of just saying absolutely not, we're done, we kind of weigh all the options. So we said, as a crew, we discussed, hey, I'm going to come down, do a low recon, see how we feel. Everyone's on the same page. So I come back around, I do a low recon, and that low recon was much calmer. Still had, 20-something knot winds coming out of the nose, but it was very, very smooth. So if you can paint the picture, there's a basically a pinnacle. Winds are coming up from the west, and they're coming down on the east side of the hill. And we're facing the east side of the hill. and we're probably, a couple hundred yards away from the side of this hill. So we get into our rest stop and we go through our brief, and everything seems good. No real issues. Everyone's comfortable. Aircraft's performing well. That 145 is a beast, and it handles this environment very well. Clear day, sunlight. It's nice. So once we finish our rest stop, the process is I'll continue flying all the way till I can't see our location any longer. At that point, I pass over the communications to Travis, who is on the skids, and I say, okay, it's your con, talk me in. So, I've talked a lot. We've discussed a lot about like kind of how good we are at things we do because we train a lot, and we've trained this same scenario quite often. But there's also a lot of things that you can learn from these scenarios, and not everything goes as planned, and not everything goes smooth. And this was kind of one of those things that, as I sit back and I look at options me as a pilot could have done different, there's several things that I would have done different. And we went back to that same spot later and replayed the scenario to get that feel so that next time, this isn't such a surprise. But as I start flying in, one of the keys was for me is I was pretty low above the trees. The trees are coming up, 100, 150 feet above the deck. So we're still up a couple hundred feet above the ground. Ideally, if we're hoisting, 200 feet is okay. 150 feet is pretty ideal. And when I came in probably, I'd say maybe 100, 150 feet above the tree line, which was, or above the ground. So maybe 50 feet above the trees, which was kind of comfortable for me because I had a good sight picture. I could see some terrain down there out of my 1 o'clock position where I could maintain a good steady hover. So I'm getting called into the final position, and Mike, as a co-pilot, he has a ton of experience. He was our chief pilot, CFI. He's got a ton of flying experience. I feel confident in my ability. I feel like I have a lot of experience in the mountains. But we have two experienced pilots in here that bounce things off of each other. And Mike didn't hesitate to tell me, hey, I'm not very comfortable at this altitude. Can you climb? I said, absolutely. I'll climb up. And I'll say that was our saving grace, that he made that decision and asked me if I can do so. I trust Mike. And when he says he's not comfortable, there's a reason why he's not comfortable. So we climbed up. Travis is comfortable in his position, conning me in. And I'll kind of let you take over from there, Travis, and I'll jump back in at the end. But I lose sight where we're about to conduct our hoist rescue. So Travis is calling us.
Hit it, Travis.
Okay, so as normal, they were under a group of trees. We spotted them. There was an opening in the trees just kind of below them, 30 yards or so. So it was just, I was operating the hoist, and then Edwards was our rescue specialist that day. We had no second rescue specialist. I sent Edwards down. I put him in this little meadow, I guess, opening in the trees. He made his way to the victim, made contact with him, and he had, as I remember, he didn't necessarily have an injury. He had some weird physical condition that basically started kind of acting up on the trail, and he was unable to continue. So some muscle wasting thing. And he made his way back to the meadow, and one of the victim's companions asked if they could go. And this is another good thing on the pilots. And I said, he relayed that to the pilots, and I said, with this conditions and this power, I'm going to say no. It's probably going to be too much weight. And that was another vital decision too, because once we started two up in Edwards and the victim, everything was fine. Started bringing them up. once they were just below the skids, I remember Manny saying, "Hey, are we clear to forward flight?" I said, "Yeah, you're clear. They're at the skids." And I remember connecting them to the reel, and right when they were connected to the reel, we just started hauling ass, the helicopter. And I remember I kind of went backwards. I remember Edwards and the victim kind of swung outwards a little bit, but they're on, they're on the hook and the reel. They were safe. And I remember thinking, because I was so concentrated on doing my hoist, they're doing their job, I'm doing my job. I remember thinking, damn, Manny's in a hurry. Like, all right, that's fine. And we went forward, and I remember the trees seemed like they were right at our skids, and I'm like, wow. And Manny did hard right and started banking down the mountain, and I got Edwards and the victim in. We got all that secured, and I wasn't till afterwards I realized there was even an emergency up front, and so I'll let Manny take it over to what was going on. But that's how it was in my perspective. I was just like, wow.
Wow, man. Wow. Real quick, I just want to caveat one thing because you said they were on a reel. So for everybody out there, what the reel is it's a retractable lanyard with a connecting point. So it comes out. It's just like a seatbelt where you get it on and it locks if you get an inertia going in one direction. It's a backup feature, or a feature that we use in aviation to secure somebody on the outside of the aircraft and then bring them in. It's connecting them to a quote unquote seatbelt, if that's but it's a reel. It's a retractable reel. So SR3 teaches it in all their classes. Super high speed. I love it. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there so everybody knows what you're connected to. All right, Manny, you get the guy. The guys are at the skid. I can hear it. I can hear the whole conversation right now. Like Survivor and RS are at the skid. They're coming above and they're on restraint. And you say, "Are they clear?" I can picture it now. What are you looking at?
So the thought process is a little of our background is we started in the 125. At least I did, an Airbus H125. Oh, my dog just came in to say good morning.
Hey, pup.
Hey, Bella. So my dog wants to play with me now. So when I learned to hoist was in a single engine A-Star helicopter, amazing helicopter. But with the single engine, a lot of pilots will know that you want to get that forward flight, get some air movement, effective translational lift, ETL. So you want to get moving forward. I've trained for so long in the 125 that I'm still in the habit of wanting to get that forward movement. Now, with this 145 being a twin engine, I have all the power in the world. I don't necessarily need that forward movement at that moment. So, again, debriefs are crucial, and pat yourself on the back when there's time to be patted, and critique yourself when there needs to be some critiquing. And I look back and I think, when Travis was pulled the victims above the tree, as a habit, I know that we have a camera in our helicopter looking down. I can kind of see that it looks like they're coming above the tree line. Travis paints the picture the entire time while I'm staring at it at a focal point. There's tension on the line. The victims are coming off the ground. The victims are 20 feet above the deck. The victims are now clear of the tree. When I hear that, my reaction was, okay, we're clear of the trees. I want to get forward flight. So going back to the beginning of this, when I did that high recon, the winds were coming from the west. So I guess that would be the windward. And we were on the leeward, the downwind side. So as I came into the rest stop, into that final hover hoisting location, what I realized after this whole thing was said and done, and I sat back and reflected, was I think the winds were coming down that terrain, and we were just shy of that wind. So it was very steady.
Okay.
When I started that forward flight, I think I introduced that wind into our rotor blades that was coming, up and over at 30 something knots, but we were out of it. So it was very stable. When I started forward flight, I think what happened, and Mike being a CFI and a chief may be able to elaborate a little bit on this, but I think I hit into the downward side of that wash and that wind, losing lift. So because Mike told me to climb at the very beginning, it gave us that extra space above the tree line that we needed in order to have a safe recovery. So as I started flying forward, power's pretty good. I'm nosing forward very gently. Our pre-brief or our rest stop brief was our emergency escape route. And the emergency escape route was going to be a hard bank to the right. These are things we go over and over and over again every time we do hoist rescues and every time we train. So as we started going forward, as I started going forward and into that forward flight, I immediately felt like I was losing lift. And I'm looking at my gauges and I see that I'm pulling power, but the helicopter's descending, and it's an uncommanded descent, which is uncomfortable as a pilot. The helicopter is very good about responding to whatever control inputs I make. And when I pull power, generally, I'm used to having that control. In this case, I didn't. And I pulled power and I realized we're sinking faster than I'm pulling power. And now I'm watching my limitations go up. We try to stay out of the red zone. In the helicopter, we fly in a yellow zone, which on our flight limit indications, it gives us a good steady power level and power limits that we have. The co-pilot's responsibility is to constantly, he's reading off those limitations. He's telling me where we're at with power, because I am staring at a focal point. I may not be looking directly at the power. I glance at it every so often, but it's crucial for the co-pilot to paint that picture for me. So while my eyes are not looking inside, he's the eyes for me. He's telling me. So I pull so much power that I know I have nothing left. I have to do something. So the reaction was to do what our emergency procedure was: bank hard right, get that forward airspeed. We want to get into that translational lift. So I guess it would be just out of instinct and training. I continued pulling power to the point I heard the exceedance alarm. At that point, I didn't care about any exceedance. I didn't care about what damage was going to be done to the helicopter. I just wanted to get us forward airspeed and hopefully get us out of that descent and into a level state of flight. We bank hard right, and we continue to descend. So I'm pulling power. I hear the alarm going off, and I thought, okay, this is going to be a crash, but it's going to be a controlled crash because I'm going to dictate where we're crashing. I'm not just going to fall out of the sky. So we turn hard. I'm expecting that, this may not be the best outcome. By this point, our guys that were outside the helicopter had swung out, but because of the reel, it kept them in close proximity. They came back in and they were hanging on to the side of the skids. I get down forward airspeed. I see the trees coming very, very close. And in my eyes, I felt as if we were about 10 feet away. And a big relief came when I felt that translational lift pick up and the aircraft started coming back up again. So at that point, there was no nerves. There was no panic. Everybody in the aircraft was calm. I didn't feel like there was anything uncomfortable, except for the fact that we were descending and I wasn't trying to descend. But I felt like our training may have kicked in and we did what we had to do. All of us did what we had to do. But there was a lot of lessons that can be learned from it. But at the end of the day, we got that forward airspeed. We were able to continue our flight. We dropped off our patient. Everything went smooth after that. We didn't talk too much on the way back. But I think because we had so much adrenaline pumping, and it wasn't until we sat down at the hangar, pulled the helicopter in, that we looked at each other, said, "Holy shit," and gave each other hugs. And
my gosh,
and
dude, you just gave me chills, man. Wow.
That's when it all kicked in, and I think that's the adrenaline, the training kind of keeps you at the top of your game until it's all said and done. And then you sit back and you kind of take a breather and you think about what just happened, what could have happened. And, it all worked out. and it worked out. I honestly will say this is because Mike told me to raise up that extra 50 feet. Had we not done that and I stayed where I was and I continued that forward flight, the descent that we would have had would have been immediately into the trees. There's no doubt in my mind that we would have just sunk and hit the trees right then and there within seconds. But because we had that altitude, as we started sinking, I was able to turn the aircraft into a position where the terrain went down, and it gave me more elevation, so I could continue to make that rapid descent because the terrain was also descending. So it allowed us that opportunity to get that forward airspeed, and it worked out great. But it's because of CRM, because crew resource management, because we all discussed emergency procedures, and Mike was vocal about what he was comfortable with and what he was not comfortable with. So I think, at the end of this, it worked out good.
Man, awesome. Mike, let me come to you real quick. As the instructor pilot, as Manny said, CFI, and are you, so what made you want to go 50 feet higher?
I'm just be real sketchy when I'm above the trees, because you're very limited to where you could go down into. You're gonna hit trees if you have an engine failure or something like that. So I like to be a little bit higher, so you have that cushion that to help get that airspeed up and bleed off that altitude. So it's tricky because it can suck you into wanting to hoist right above the tree line because it gives you a greater reference point.
Yeah.
It'll give you a more stable hover, because of the downwash is so significant in the 145. That's why we have to do about a minimum of 150 foot hoist in it, because it's just too violent on the rescuer and the victim on the ground. So that's why we have to be that high. And it was weird. It really was a feeling. It just, something didn't feel right. When we were coming in on short final, I'm not even flying, but I could feel that the aircraft just felt mushy at that altitude.
Okay.
And we were down a rescuer too. So we were down 200 pounds. So we had, fuel was where it always is for that altitude that we have the performance for. But something just felt weird, man. And it was a feeling, and I know it was totally God keeping us alive. And so it just, hey man, I don't feel comfortable. Let's get up a little bit higher in case we have something. And so, great on Manny. Was like, Roger that. Absolutely, I agree. And we all have that really healthy relationship, with CRM. It's everyone has a say, and can be vocal, and no one's going to get their feelings hurt.
Out of curiosity, like as Manny's starting to fly out, and I know you can see what's going on. Are you helping talking him through the maneuvers and through back, what are you doing backing him up as you're flying out?
Yeah, as we're going forward, we're feeling the descent. It was a pretty significant descent rate. So he just immediately, I didn't have to say something. Here, okay, we're in an EP now. Okay, hard right, and we're still descending. And I think I just said, hey, airspeed, and because that's what's going to save us is get that airspeed going. And he reacted. I didn't really even have to say anything else. That he was doing everything. He made the correct inputs at the correct time, and that's what made the difference. And it was I'll tell you, that was the scariest I think I've ever been in a helicopter. But as it was happening, it was kind of just, you couldn't. It was really weird. It kind of slowed down, and I'm just looking at the FLI, and it's in the red, and you hear that gong, that first gong. It's an over torque gong. And which is fine. And so finally the descent started to arrest, and we were about 10 feet above the treetops at that point. And it was Manny is an awesome pilot as well. It's it was very complimentary to us, but Manny did, when it mattered, he did the right thing at the right time, made the correct inputs. He didn't make the incorrect inputs that would have made the situation even worse. He knew what he needed to do. Get all of that collective up that you need to get, and get that forward airspeed going. That's what's going to save us, and that's what did save us. Yes, it was good that we did have that extra altitude because we would have been in the trees. Absolutely. But Manny would have done the same thing for me if the roles were reversed. He would have called out the same thing as well. I know it. So, it worked out good. We had a very quiet flight on the way back, and once we landed, we secured the aircraft. I called our boss, told him what happened, and I told him, hey, I said, you know what, we're down. We're down for the rest of the shift, man. We had a pretty significant incident. We're kind of shaken up by it. We're debriefing it, and we talked it through. We did have an exceedance on the main gearbox. It was a light one, just required a minimal inspection. So the aircraft was down anyways, but cool. I said, hey, we're down. If something pops off, you're gonna have to call in the other guys because we're not in that right frame of mind. We're at the end of our shift anyways. So I think it was the right call to make, and came back the next day, talked about it some more, and it was an interesting one. Good learning environment. And I would say, anyone else listening, if something doesn't feel right, speak up. You got to speak up. You could be wrong. And if you're wrong, fine, whatever, move on. But you could be right. So speak up and say something and have that kind of culture where you can.
Is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to have that kind of culture.
Say that again, Manny.
I was just saying everybody's input is important in that aircraft. And we're very tight. Our group is very tight. Our crew is very tight. And there is no ego in the helicopter. We set that aside.
Yep.
Sometimes we say things that are a bit harsh and people might not want to hear, but we're thick enough that we take it and we know that it's to better us. And in this scenario, I didn't feel like Mike was challenging me. I didn't feel like he was questioning my ability. I felt that he was giving me valuable insight based off of his comfort level and his experience. So, I listened to him, and he's right. If there's something I'm uncomfortable with, I'm very vocal, and I'll let people know how I feel. And I would say if something was uncomfortable when Mike's flying, I'll let him know. In this case, I was flying. Mike had a suggestion, and it saved our asses on that one. Now, if I was to just give some feedback, you sit back and you think about what you could have done, what you should have done, and there's other options. There's other ways I could have done things as a pilot. I trained in the mountains before I got into the rescue unit as a patrol helicopter. We chase bad guys all the time and we're low level, but I would take the initiative to go up to the mountains after most of my patrol flights and just be proficient at flying in high altitudes with uncomfortable winds, with the aircraft doing things that aren't necessarily comfortable, but I know I'm in control, kind of like a controlled chaos. And I intentionally would do that because I want to feel comfortable up there. I want to be comfortable in the uncomfortable situations. So I think, by doing that in my previous flights, kind of helped with us in this flight. And I would say to, other pilots that are doing mountain rescues, terrain is always different. Winds are always different. No two rescues are the same. What I would have done different with what I did the next day when we went back there was, instead of trying to get that forward flight, the helicopter has a ton of power. I don't want to give up what I know I have already. That's good. And I know where I'm at. I was good. I could have waited there, not gone anywhere, let him finish the hoist, let them get inside, and then we could fly off. Had I done that, not to say that it would have been much different. I may have still flown forward flight, started my turn, and still got into that same wind, that wind dynamic that was a downdraft. But what I did the next day was went out there. Once we were done, I came straight up, because now looking back at it, I picture the winds as water, and the water's coming from one side of the mountain and that water's downwashed hard on the other side. So I always picture the wind as water. And if I'm flying straight in and I'm going down to that break, I'm going to get smashed. So the next day I said, okay, instead of going down into that break, let's just climb up. And now we're above that. Then we'll turn and we'll fly out to our terrain. And we did it the next day and similar type conditions. And it was uneventful. So there's always room for improvement, and that's why it's important to train. That's why it's important to be humble, to listen, to not have an ego. And as a crew, we'll work with each other and make sure that the next flight's going to be better, and that we learn from our mistakes, that I learn from my mistakes, that I go back and I tell every crew member at the hangar afterwards, sit down. I want to tell you guys where I messed up and what we can do different. So if you're in that same scenario, maybe you'll think of this conversation and you'll realize, you know what, maybe instead of moving into that forward flight profile, stop, bring everybody in, climb, and get out of there. Altitude is your friend in a helicopter. So
yeah,
good teamwork.
Awesome, man. Well done. Well done all the way around, from CRM to getting everybody out of there. And Manny, nice flying. Holy shit.
Thank you.
Well done, gentlemen. Well done. Well, it seems to be that time because we've hit our bingo. We'll be relaunching for part 2 of this episode after we refuel. We'll see you soon. Go. Now, it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Breeze Eastern. For over 80 years, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured battle-proven aerial rescue hoists, winches, and cargo hooks. Each product is carefully crafted to support demanding mission scenarios, ensuring the job gets done safely and efficiently. Visit them today at www.breeze-eastern.com.
Hey, rule number 13. Some situations are just too serious to take seriously. Relax. Listen, I get it. I've been there. You just get in a situation that you're so like, ugh. Even serious things can just sound so absurd or overwhelming, especially when it's presented in certain ways. So sometimes you just gotta take 5. Take that tactical pause. Walk away. Come back to the situation. Seriousness does not necessarily negate humor or levity. Sometimes that lighthearted touch can make such a difference later down on the line. Because, again, some things are just too serious to take seriously.